World, complete and powered by DemeraraWaves.com.
The news comes to you compliments of KFC. It's finger licking good. With the news, I am Ruth Wilson. Good evening. First, the highlights. The Speaker of the National Assembly has thrown out an opposition motion that was aimed at sending 22 government parliamentarians to a disciplinary committee. The captain of the MV Malawi was allegedly piloting the vessel under the influence of alcohol. And in the region, Trinidadian police have arrested several Chinese with drugs and cash. Details of these and more, including the international news from the BBC, in a moment.
Hit the standing lines? Don't worry, KFC has got you covered with their drive-thrus, which are open now from 9 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. at Movietown, Vlissingen Road, Mandela Avenue, Reading Hoop, Parika and the Amazonia Mall. That's right, you can drive through at 6 of their 9 locations. Remember, their current opening hours are 9 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. Go on down and let your taste buds savor the spices today. KFC.
It's finger licking good.
And now for the news in detail. House Speaker Manzo Nadir on Monday scuttled a plan by the opposition APNU-AFC to send 22 government parliamentarians to a parliamentary disciplinary committee for the raucous behavior in the National Assembly's chamber.
First, the motion will not proceed because a prima facie case has not been established. And secondly, there is, I was told, only reminded this morning, because I'm surrounded by so many lawyers, and in the House we have many lawyers on both sides of excellent repute. You can't bring a legal action for your illegal actions in the first place. And based on those two, I am not allowing that motion to go ahead.
Mr. Nadir made known his decision on the motion 1 week after he gave the green light for a government-sponsored motion for 8 opposition parliamentarians to be sent to the Privileges Committee for the December 29, 2021 chaos. Opposition parliamentarian Annette Ferguson has already publicly admitted grabbing the mace because she had become so frustrated that the government had refused to consider requests by civil society and the opposition for debate on the new Natural Resource Fund legislation to be pushed back. Local Government Minister Anand Prasad on Monday urged Georgetown Mayor Ubraj Narain to pull the trigger on improving the conditions of the city. This even as the government puts local government councils on notice that they need to give value for money. The local government minister questioned where City Hall's more than 2 billion Guyana dollars annual revenue was going, especially since the central government was assisting Georgetown with road, bridge and drainage works.
They are squandering the residents' money. The mayor should not become trigger happy, but should be focused on pulling the trigger in the council. Stop procrastinating, Mr. Mayor, and get the job done.
Over the years, the City Hall has been blocked from generating its own revenue by a revaluation of the properties, paid parking, fines for littering, and the movement of large vehicles through the streets of Georgetown. A Guyanese man who has had brushes with the law over the years has been named as an investor in a startup Surinamese airline, according to reports from that neighboring South American nation. The company, named Angel Airways, said it recently partnered with Guyanese businessman and chief executive officer of Aaron Royalty, Jason Aaron, giving him a 40% stake in the startup carrier. The head of Angel Airways, Etienne Fernandez, says talks with Aaron Royalty began in mid-2021 after previous negotiations with other parties did not lead to a conclusive deal. Back in 2018, Mr. Aaron had been slapped with 8 fraud fraud-related charges, and in 2021, he had been arrested for allegedly falsifying a series of WhatsApp messages in a conversation that he had purportedly had with an official of the state-owned Guyana Oil Company. He had imported fuel, which had been subsequently seized by the Guyana Revenue Authority. A high-ranking officer of the Guyana Police Force on Monday said Mr. Aaron was still the subject of an ongoing investigation. Police say that the captain of the MV Malali ferry was piloting the vessel under the influence of alcohol. The Guyana Police Force says that the Transport and Harbors Department asked for help to conduct a breathalyzer test on the boat captain, Jermaine Blackman. At the time of the test, the MV Malali was en route to Leguan. Police Commander for Region 3, West Demerara, Essequibo Islands, Senior Superintendent Errol Watts said he compiled with the request and 2 tests were conducted. The readings were 146 and 141 respectively, way above the legal limit. A man was arrested early this morning inside a room at the Bagotville Post Office, West Bank, Demerara. Police say they were summoned to the scene and observed that a part of the wooden wall was broken. The man was arrested and taken to the Lagrange police station, where he was placed in custody. There were no reports that anything was stolen from the Bagotville Post Office. Investigations are continuing. You are still with us on News Talk Radio Guyana 103.1 FM on YouTube and Facebook. It is 18 hours 7. We now turn to news in the region. Police in Trinidad are investigating an incident in which 4 Chinese nationals were arrested and more than $1 million worth of illegal drugs and a quantity of cash were confiscated during a drug bust. The Caribbean Media Corporation reports that the incident took place last week during an intelligence-led exercise which was conducted in the Northern Division. The police report that during the exercise, a search warrant for firearms and ammunition was executed at a residence located in the community of Trincity to the east of here. During a search of the premises, officials allegedly found and seized 201 glass vials, each labeled along with 76 Ziploc packets, each containing a white crystal-like substance resembling the dangerous drug ketamine. Ketamine is described as a mind-altering drug that is often used to help people suffering from anxiety and depression. Jai Cheng Jiang, 26, was arrested and subsequently charged with possession of ketamine for the purpose of trafficking. A former top official of Suriname's central bank was today sentenced to 3 years imprisonment for financial crimes. Star News reports that ex-director, legal compliance and international affairs, Farinaz Albax Hassil, also has to pay a fine of almost $4,800. If she does not pay the fine, she will have to serve an additional 10 months imprisonment. Judge Maitri Kuldip Singh says that Albax Hassil is guilty of violating the Anti-Corruption Act. The court found that there was close and conscious cooperation between her and the other suspects. Albax Hassil has always indicated at the hearings that she is innocent. Prior to today's sentencing, she has been on remand for 13 months. And world-renowned Barbadian singer Rihanna is having her first baby. The singer debuted her baby bump while out in New York City over the weekend with her rapper boyfriend A$AP Rocky. The couple was photographed out in New York over the weekend, where Rihanna debuted her baby bump while wearing a long pink jacket. Her oversized outerwear was unbuttoned at the bottom to reveal her growing bump adorned in a gold cross with colorful jewels. In one of the sweet photos, which were snapped in Harlem, where A$AP Rocky grew up, the rapper kisses the soon-to-be mom on her forehead as they enjoy a snowy walk outdoors. Back in May, A$AP Rocky told GQ about his romance with Rihanna, calling her the love of my life. It's 18 hours 10. We now turn to the international news from the BBC.
Hello, I'm Eileen McHugh with the BBC News. The British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has apologised to Parliament and promised changes after a report by a senior civil servant into parties held at Downing Street during coronavirus lockdowns highlighted a failure of leadership. The information released was constrained by a police inquiry. London's Metropolitan Police say they're reviewing more than 300 images passed to officers in relation to 12 events across government on 8 different dates. The information that was released was greeted with anger by many MPs, including those in his own Conservative Party. The Labour leader, Sir Keir Starmer, called him a man without shame.
Our national story about COVID is one of a people that stood up when they were tested. But that will be forever tainted by the behaviour of this Conservative Prime Minister. By routinely breaking the rules he set, the Prime Minister took us all for fools. He held people sacrificing contempt. He showed himself unfit for office.
Our political correspondent Rob Watson has been following events in Parliament today.
Obviously, things aren't great for the Prime Minister. I mean, you've got a police investigation going on, the opinion polls are pretty grim, and many Conservatives are very unhappy about his performance. But, very importantly, his cabinet, so the inner part of the government, is still sticking with him. Also important to remember, when, in most cases, if there's a political death, you need an assassin, right? So far, there isn't one. And it may be that, for the time being at least, that Conservative MPs decide, unhappy as they are, that they're better off sticking together, otherwise they might all hang together.
President Biden has said the world needs to be clear-eyed about the threat that he says Russia poses not just to Ukraine but to the modern international order. Speaking at the White House, he said the United States is ready for any scenario.
We continue to urge diplomacy as the best way forward. But with Russia's continuing its buildup of its forces around Ukraine, we are ready no matter what happens.
His ambassador to the United Nations told the Security Council that Russia had conducted the biggest mobilization of troops in Europe in decades. Russia denies planning to invade Ukraine. Its UN ambassador accused the US of provoking escalation by talking of war. Mali's military leaders are expelling the French ambassador over what they describe as outrageous comments about the transitional government. Joël Meyer has been given 72 hours to leave. The French Foreign Minister Jean-Yves Le Drian on Friday said the junta was illegitimate and out of control. France has threatened to pull its troops out of Mali, where they've been fighting an Islamist insurgency. You're listening to the latest world news from the BBC. Envoys from West Africa and the UN have met the ousted president in Burkina Faso. Roch Kaboré has been under house arrest in the capital, Ouagadougou, since he was overthrown by the army a week ago. The head of the ECOWAS delegation said she found him well and in good spirits. The Lebanese authorities say security forces have broken up at least 17 networks of people suspected of spying on behalf of Israel. The Prime Minister, Najib Mikati, said the operation had helped stop efforts to tamper with security and sabotage the stability of the country. Lebanon and Israel officially remain in a state of war. Local media reports say the focus of the espionage was the Hezbollah movement. A new scientific study suggests there are around 14% more tree species on Earth than previously recorded. The data will be used to help assess priorities for conservation. Ellen Briggs has more details.
Past estimates have come up with a figure of about 60,000 or so different types of tree, but scientists now think that's an underestimate, suggesting thousands of rare species unknown to science are still to be discovered, particularly in tropical rainforests such as the Amazon. Forests play an essential role in absorbing carbon dioxide emissions and regulating the climate, yet they're increasingly being lost to logging, fires and global heating, particularly in the parts of the world that harbour the most rare and undiscovered species.
The first stone has been laid in the construction of a giant port in the Democratic Republic of Congo. The deepwater port, known as Banana, is located at the mouth of the River Congo. It's the first of its kind for the DRC, which has a coastline of less than 40 kilometres. The billion-dollar port is being built by DP World, a multinational company constructing a string of ports in Africa. That's the latest BBC News.
And that's the news to the moment.
KFC delivery is now available from the Amazonia location. For shore-based Little Diamond residents, call 632-0533, 632-0533, 6080-162, 6080-162, or 503-3591, 503-3591. That's KFC's delivery service from the Amazonia location. KFC.
It's finger licking good.
To end the news, here's a recap of the highlights. The Speaker of the National Assembly has thrown out an opposition motion that was aimed at sending 22 government parliamentarians to a disciplinary committee. And the captain of the MV Malali was allegedly piloting the vessel under the influence of alcohol. And in the region, Trinidadian police have arrested several Chinese with drugs and cash. The news came to you compliments of KFC. It's finger licking good.
This has been the news, compiled in the News Talk Radio newsroom. For ongoing updates, visit demerarawaves.com, and you can check facebook.com/demwaves and twitter.com/